where class restarts tomorrow for the Western Kentucky students. So one last winter break party before class resumes tomorrow, and the new arrival inside the top 25 is here. Florida Atlantic, winners of 15 games in a row. We are so glad you're with us. Can't wait to get this one started with David Padgett, Connor Onion. Now the walk from the bus to shoot around today for FAU, historic. The reason, the AP Top 25 came out. First time ever the Owls are there.
Yeah, big day for this FAU program. Ranked in the top 25. First time in school history riding this 15-game win streak. But it won't be easy here tonight against a great Western Kentucky team.
Well, the reason for that, or part of the reason for that, is John L. Davis has been awesome since December.
No question. Not very often do you see your leading scorer, a guy that comes off the bench, but that is the case. John L. Davis having an all-conference type season really sets the pace for this Owl basketball team.
And for Western Kentucky, Davion McKnight, he's well-known product around here in the Western Kentucky community.
Quite frankly, he's in the running for Player of the Year already in Conference USA this season. Does it all. Top 10 in assists and scoring in Conference USA. Look for him to have a breakout game here tonight to try to end the Owls' 15-game win streak.
Well, that 15-game winning streak for Florida Atlantic not only got them in the top 25, that is second in the country as far as active win streaks. And now they take the floor for the first time in school history as a top 25 team. All the pieces in place from Bowling Green, Kentucky. 7-footer against 7-footer to tap it. Golden against Sharp. And away we go in Conference USA. So Western Kentucky controlling the tap. They had lost their first 3 Conference USA games, and they've won their last 3 since then. Tonight a chance for them to stay in the hunt in the long haul for the Conference USA Championship. And first shot is up for Lander, and Christian Lander can't connect. And the rebound for Florida Atlantic.
I think the pace is going to be up-tempo in this one. Both these teams love to get up and down, love to put some points on the board. So let's look for a lot of offense here in this game tonight.
Here's the first shot of the night from Gaffney. That's too strong. Golden trying to reel in the miss and can't. And cleared away for Jarius Hamilton. And Lander making his second career start, going right back to the rim, and Golden has the miss. So the Western Kentucky starting lineup with Lander in it. Second time that they've been without Emmanuel Acott this week, one of their top defenders and top scorers. And how about that bounce? Little road bounce on a 3.
It's been a good day for the FAU program, and for Brandon Weatherspoon, it continues right there. You don't see that bounce on the road very often, but the 3-point line, FAU, a team that can really shoot the basketball, have struggled a little bit in conference play, but overall as a team shooting almost 40% on the season. So a team that's very capable of getting hot in a hurry from behind the arc.
Well, you wonder if that's the seal breaker. Hitting one off back rim, get that big high skip. And the Florida Atlantic has played a ton of close games, while they haven't shot the ball great. As Golden's up with a turnover down in the deck.
Yeah, immediate trap on that ball screen for Davion McKnight. I don't think Florida Atlantic's going to let him get anything easy tonight. They are going to make him work for every single point that he earns.
And he was obviously a big focus of their shoot around. Is Golden right underneath on Sharp.
Yeah, just taking it right to Jamarion Sharp, one of the best shot blockers in the country, leading Conference USA. Vlad Golden right there saying, you know what, let's take it right to you and see what we can come away with.
Well, that matchup head-to-head is 1-1. They played twice last year. Florida Atlantic won 1, Western Kentucky won 1, and so did the big men. McKnight with the fall away, made it a tough shot again, and Florida Atlantic away with another miss with Weatherspoon.
And Florida Atlantic, a terrific rebounding team, and so far doing a great job of limiting the Hilltoppers to 1 shot.
Weatherspoon can't get the bounce this time.
Yeah, it evens out, I guess. You can't get them all, right? But a pretty good look for the Owls.
That one looked more true than the first one, don't you think?
Oh, no question about it.
An air ball. Not sure, is that pass or shot for Hamilton?
I think that was intended to be a lob, just not on the same page that time.
And a whistle on the jump shot. Lander got into Brian Greenlee, and foul shots coming for FAU. So Dusty Maid, head coach for Florida Atlantic, he was a student manager for Bob Knight. He said that even in some of these close losses, he's channeled his inner, these close wins, I'm sorry, he's channeled his inner Bob Knight and pretended like their losses to motivate his team.
Well, he doesn't want his team to get complacent. You know, winning 15 in a row is an amazing accomplishment. Getting ranked in the top 25, very well earned. But, you know, there's an old saying, satisfaction can be the enemy of success. And he doesn't want his team to be satisfied with where they are. Be proud of it. You've earned it. But let's not settle for that. Let's continue to build and get better. So, you know, kind of walking that fine line of saying, hey, you know, let's enjoy where we are, but we also got a lot more basketball left to play.
5 consecutive wins by 5 points or less on this 15-game winning streak. So using some of that reverse psychology, he thinks will have his team charged up, and tough place to play tonight.
Yeah, they've been fortunate in a lot of games. Had a couple games where they've had to come back late. They haven't shot the ball well, like I mentioned, in conference play, but still finding a way to win. That's the most important thing. They're a terrific defensive team, as we see them picking up full court here, and a great rebounding team. And the two things that travel are defense and rebounding. And if you can do those on the road, you get a chance to win most games.
Well, that FAU defense has held Western Kentucky to 0 for 4 shooting, plus a turnover in 5 trips so far.
And they're doing a great job of keeping the ball out of Davion McKnight's hands. We see Frampton finally getting the toppers on the board, but FAU early doing a great job. Anytime Davion McKnight has given the ball up, they're not letting him get it back. We saw the trap there on the ball screen again. See if Western be able to make an adjustment here as this first half goes on.
And Frampton got drilled on that screen after he hit the jump shot. And here's Golden in deep again on Sharp, and 7-footer against 7-footer, and Sharp has his first block. It could be a historic night blocking shots for Sharp. He's now 2 away from the school record. And underneath, no roll, Golden offensive rebound, and Western Kentucky wants a travel, and either way they get a whistle. And they do call the travel going down the Hilltoppers' way. So this is the 7th consecutive game that Rick Stansbury is not on the bench for Western Kentucky, their typical head coach. So Phil Cunningham has been the interim since post-Christmas.
And the month of December was a little rough for the Hilltoppers. Had a 5-game losing streak there. Didn't play their best basketball. They were in most games, just weren't able to come away with victories. And then Coach Stansbury with some issues he's having to take care of. We obviously hope is nothing serious and love to see him return sometime soon. But Phil Cunningham has done an unbelievable job. Winners of 3 in a row, starting to play much better basketball that they know they're capable of.
McKnight forced to give it up, but Frampton is a devastating 3-point shooter.
And that is the one guy in red that if you're Florida Atlantic, you cannot leave him open. But that all started with the dribble penetration of Davion McKnight, and that is why he is so dangerous. You have to pay so much attention to his ability to score, but also he's such a great facilitator. As you see on the other end, Brian Greenlee knocking down the 3 with the quick answer. But anytime Davion McKnight gets in the lane, good things are going to happen for this Western Kentucky offense.
So McKnight, who has exploded since the early part of December, gets into the lane here, and a foul is called. Ooh, and Sharp and Golden, little extra after the play. And the 2 7-footers, little handsy. It's a 6-point jump for FAU off the bat. So FAU with an early 6-point lead, their first ever game as a top 25 team. Took them 15 wins in a row to get there, and they finally got the respect that they felt they deserved, winning those 15 in a row. And you look at that net number, Joe Lunardi has them projected as a 10 seed with that 13 net. And you look at their KenPom numbers too, they have 5 top 100 wins, so there's a lot to bite into there.
Absolutely, and that net number obviously is really important, especially when we get into March and it comes Selection Sunday time. But they can't worry about all that right now. Their focus has to be on winning 1 game at a time, which they have done. They've won 15 of them in a row, so whatever they're doing is working, obviously. But Conference USA, notoriously a 1-bid league. But hey, this might be a year you've got teams like UAB. See a breakdown here defensively on that underneath that bounce play. Florida Atlantic very fortunate there, but UAB, North Texas is very good this year. Florida Atlantic's obviously having a great season. The Western Kentucky team, great. So a lot of teams capable of winning that conference tournament, but just got to take it 1 game at a time. Cannot look ahead.
Near turnover for FAU. This is straight from Joe Lunardi. He said that FAU is in the enviable position that they can lose this game and still be in his field, but of course a long way to go. Greenlee on a 3, that's short, and back end rebound for Hamilton.
You see Florida Atlantic not shy, putting it up from behind the arc. Already 5 attempts from behind the 3-point line in the first 5 minutes of this game. Very comfortable, have a lot of guys that can knock down that shot.
Well, it's a diverse look as far as Florida Atlantic and their personnel versus Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, the bigger team, and that's tapped by Hamilton, but no follow-up. And the rebound for FAU.
And Jonell Davis, Owls leading scorer in the game. Quick turnover, and this is what Western Kentucky's going to have to do. Get out on the break.
McKnight was deterred by Davis, but a second chance. And a 3 for Rawls, and he got it.
Best time to shoot a 3-pointers off the offensive rebound. Great job keeping that basketball alive. Ended up in the hands of Luke Frampton. Their best best three-point shooter, could have shot it, had a better shot in the corner. Jordan Rawls able to knock that down.
Well, Rawls, David, is starting to find his three-point shot. He had his first of the year last game. That's back-to-back games now.
Yeah, you're playing a lot more minutes as of late. And a Western team that notoriously doesn't play a lot of guys, but has started to rely on their bench a little bit more over these last 3 games, and it's been a big reason why they're on this 3-game win streak.
A slow start for Davis coming off the bench for FAU. He's got the on-ball defense on Hamilton. Western Kentucky will reset it, and Frampton, long-range three one more time.
He has such a quick trigger. You think you're there, you think you're in a position to take the shot away, but he does such a great job of getting himself ready to shoot before he catches the ball. And with that quick release, you have to take the attempt away. You have to force him to put it on the floor.
And a foul. Frampton in the area again. And free throws coming up for FAU. Hey, coming up, our Big 12 SEC Super Tuesday doubleheader. It starts with the Sunflower Showdown in Manhattan. Kansas, they've won 10 straight. A lot of close games for the Jayhawks, though, and what a job that Jerome Tang has done, candidate for Coach of the Year. Then Georgia, Kentucky in the nightcap at 9 Eastern. Kentucky, of course, getting right against Tennessee the other day. It is Tuesday on ESPN and the app. A lot of people in this part of the country were paying attention to that game, of course.
What better way to get your program together than going on the road and beating a top 5 team in their gym? But obviously a great win, and I think a much needed win for a lot of Big Blue Nation and those Wildcat fans.
And it's Elijah Martin missing his first, an 80% free throw shooter. Phil Cunningham has seen his team go on a 6-0 run here since that timeout, thanks to the Rawls and Frampton threes. We talked about how Western Kentucky has used their bench a little bit more. It's interesting the way that FAU uses their bench. Martin is their leading scorer coming off the bench, just like Davis is.
Yeah, very unorthodox. You don't see that very often. It was interesting talking to Dusty May today. We said, hey, why is that? And he said, well, they happened to get hurt at the same exact time of the season in early December. Took them out of the starting lineup because they weren't playing, obviously, and then when they returned, he wanted them to work their way back. Well, that's when they started playing their best basketball, and he said, you know what? If it's not broken, let's not fix it. So they're just going to continue to ride with it as long as it seems to be working.
Oh, he's unstoppable to start this game. Luke Frampton dials up another.
Luke Frampton 3 for 3 from behind the three-point line, and that is a much-needed sign for Western Kentucky, especially with Davion McKnight, their leading scorer, having a pretty quiet first half here so far. But Luke Frampton, again, you got to take the attempt away.
And FAU can't get a second chance because McKnight takes it out of there at half court. Rawls just hit from that spot for Western Kentucky. Frampton wants another one. Make him drive here. McKnight into the lane, and McKnight gets a good look.
And a great job there by Luke Frampton. Didn't settle, put the ball on the floor, drew the help, kicked it to Davion McKnight. And when Western Kentucky gets the dribble penetration like that, they are really, really tough to defend.
Well, that third Frampton three gave them their first lead, and Rosado can't hit, and Jun's away with the rebound.
And Florida Atlantic cooling off here a little bit offensively. Western Kentucky starting to pick it up on their end.
Tyrone Marshall into the game. Extra pass. Rawls not this time. So FAU came out hot, took a 6-point lead, now down by 4. And trying to win their 16th consecutive. Their only loss is to Ole Miss early in the season. And baseline jump too strong, and Jung is on the rebound again. There's McKnight with speed, taking on 2 guys, got under the rim, followed his own, but no putback, and the board for Martin.
Great push there by Davion McKnight, unable to finish on either attempts, but transition basketball, something Western Kentucky loves to do, in Florida Atlantic, no shy about it either. And so far for the Toppers, it has been the Luke Frampton show. 3 for 3 from behind the arc, doing what he does best, knocking it down. 4-point game here in Bowling Green. A little bit of a slow start for the Hilltoppers to start this game, but it has been the Luke Frampton show the last few minutes. 3 for 3 from behind the arc, 4 for 4 from the field. 11 quick points to get his team back in this basketball game, and when he gets his feet set and gets even a little bit of daylight, you're more surprised than not when he doesn't make it. A knockdown shooter picked up his second foul before the last timeout, so certainly something to keep an eye on there, but just a terrific three-point shooter. Has only attempted, coming into this game in league play, 1 2-point field goal in conference play. So certainly a guy who everybody knows what he's going to do, but has provided a much-needed spark for this Hilltopper team here in this first half.
Yeah, the book is pretty clear, but with that quick trigger, hard to get the ball out of his hands sometimes. He did take that shot, so he's on the bench because he's got the 2 fouls, but also committing the foul, he took an elbow right to the stomach.
Yeah, it looked like he got the wind knocked out of him there. I'm sure it'll be okay, but those 2 fouls, certainly something to keep an eye on. And he's obviously had the hot hand here to start. Be curious to see if they put him back here in this first half.
When you saw the shooting numbers for Western Kentucky without him, it's basically Frampton and then McKnight, and that's it so far.
And Dante Allen is now in the game for Western Kentucky, the transfer from the University of Kentucky. Another great shooter, not shooting the ball percentage-wise very well this year, but very, very capable. See if he may be able to pick up some of the slack with Frampton on the bench.
We'll see how long Frampton is on the bench. Golden was left wide open behind Jean.
Yeah, great pass there by Jalen Gaffney. Just a little simple ball screen, miscommunication, especially on the weak side help for Western Kentucky, and Golden not going to get a much easier look than that.
Plays like that are why Golden's shooting about 65% of the season, leading the team. And Jean stepping out, too strong, and the rebound for Weatherspoon. FAU, it's a priority for them to rebound with their guards, and they get to the rim with Gaffney, and he's got 2 at the rim.
Simple ball screen action here last time down for the Owls, just a top of the key screen. Golden doing a great job rolling, just a great pass there, and the weak side help for Western Kentucky just non-existent. When you're 2 or 3 passes away, you got to load up to the ball. You'll be able to get there on the skip pass, but can't leave the lane wide open like that.
And so he had the dunk and another trip with points, with Gaffney hitting the first one. Hey, coming up, doubleheader on Saturday on ESPN and the app. Isaiah Wong and number 17 Miami against Duke at noon Eastern. Then Wade Taylor, Texas A&M. They've won 6 straight. They take on Kentucky and Oscar Tshiebwe. Should be another great doubleheader of hoops Saturday, ESPN and the app. So all knotted up at 16. Luke Frampton, the leading scorer so far for Western Kentucky, on the bench. And Lander said that got tipped, but the officials say straight air ball.
Hey, we couldn't tell from our angle. He certainly made the case that it was tipped, or he may have gotten hit on the hand, but nonetheless going down the other way. And so you take a look at Luke Frampton sitting on the bench there, and with 10 minutes left in the half, some coaches subscribe to the theory, 2 fouls, you're on the bench the rest of the half. Some coaches say, hey, let's let it roll. So be curious to see if they put Frampton back in before halftime.
You coached, what would you do?
Well, I got in a lot of foul trouble, and Coach Rick Pitino was not big on putting me back into the game, probably for my own benefit. But you know what? With a guy like Luke Frampton, he's experienced enough. He's obviously had the hot hand. If I'm Phil Cunningham, I think you put him back in the game, maybe wait here a couple more minutes, maybe get to this next time out and give him a chance. But again, we mentioned it, not a very deep team. Have had bench success lately, but I think Luke Frampton's a guy that's going to have to be on the floor if you want to try to win this basketball game.
That should be just the Luke Frampton railing over there with all the 3s up for him. 3 of the 4 for him. Rawls had the other. And Golden too strong on the first one. Golden, we've mentioned his efficiency, hitting at 65% of his shots. Not a guy that's really going to hog a lot of shots, though. He doesn't take a ton.
He knows his role. Set screens, roll, post up. We've seen them get the ball inside to him on the block a couple times early. But he's not going to do anything he's not capable of doing. He knows where his bread is buttered, and he's going to stick to it. But Florida Atlantic already with their 7th free throw attempt in the game, even though Golden not able to knock either one of those down. But as a team in conference play, they have made more free throws than their opponents have attempted. So that tells you 2 things. They're aggressive, attacking the rim, but they're also a great defensive team that doesn't foul a lot. So early on certainly seems to be the case.
And Western Kentucky hasn't been to the foul line yet, while they do have the foul trouble to Frampton. Rawls over into the corner. And got to get going here. 3 to shoot in the hands of Rawls. Pull up, pop, and too strong, and batted out of bounds off of Western Kentucky. Marshall had the last touch.
And I'm curious now to see Phil Cunningham, see if he goes back with Frampton. Ever since he came out of the game with that second foul, we see Jarius Hamilton coming back into the game. But ever since Luke Frampton went to the bench, they have been out of sync offensively. And give credit to Florida Atlantic, doing a good job making some adjustments. And Davion McKnight for the Hilltoppers, a pretty quiet half so far.
Nobody's been allowed to score since Frampton came off. Western Kentucky's gone scoreless for 3 minutes. One of the last 6 for FAU. Let's see if this breaks the seal. It does not. And Gaffney and FAU are one and done. And then McKnight back in there, got some paint touches early. And this has been Rawls' spot for Western Kentucky early. There's Allen, 3, got it.
And that's the guy that's got to have to try to pick up the slack a little bit. A great shooter, like I said earlier, not shooting a great percentage on the season, but a very, very good shooter, and a much welcome sight, I'm sure, for Phil Cunningham to see that one go down and kind of break this scoreless streak here over the last 5 minutes.
Looking for the answer back, an air ball for Forrest. A guy that FAU wants to get going, scoring again. Way off on that 3. Forrest, it needs 35 points to be 4th all-time. He is their leading active scorer at FAU, but played just 12 minutes and wasn't in the game down the stretch against North Texas.
Well, we mentioned it's such a deep team. Play about 9-10 guys on a regular basis. So, you know, if certain guys have the hot hand going, Dusty May's obviously going to stick with it. We see McKnight continues to struggle here, getting anything going offensively. But Florida Atlantic, a team that if one couple guys aren't playing well, they can go to their bench, and that's a big reason why they've been able to win 15 in a row and get into that top 25.
And Davis is back in there. Been one of their top scorers lately. Out in the corner here, Gaffney turned away. Sharp with another one.
We see the presence of Jamarion Sharp right there, able to block that shot. And on the other end, a lot of contact there on the lob to Sharp, and going down Florida Atlantic's way. But Jamarion Sharp, one of the best shot blockers in college basketball, doing what he does best, protecting that rim. Great Conference USA matchup so far here early on. Jamarion Sharp, the tallest player in college basketball at 7'5". A big reason why Western Kentucky, one of the best field goal percentage defensive teams in the country. 2 early blocks here tonight. When you get in and around the rim, even if he doesn't block it, he's going to alter it. Very tough to score around the rim when 33 in red is in the game.
Well, many around the country, David, saw what Zach Edey did today, winning the game for Purdue at Michigan State. The only guy taller than Zach Edey in the country, this guy, Jamarion Sharp, at 7'5". And he is 1 block away from tying the career record for block shots in Western Kentucky.
It's amazing. They don't chart this, but the amount of shots in his career that he has altered just by his presence back there, it's almost impossible to score around the rim. You see Davion McKnight here with a great steal. Good decision to pull that back out. Didn't quite have the numbers.
And he gets fouled by Elijah Martin. And they have been on McKnight every time he's gotten into the lane. There's been somebody shadowing him or helping onto him, but they get a foul on FAU this trip.
A little sarcastic cheer there from the local fans, applauding the officials for that foul call against the Owls.
Good crowd tonight, too, at the students back. That student section right behind the basket Western Kentucky's going toward, all the way up to the top of the gym. And that rattles out for Dante Allen. So the offense has slowed down both ways after the fast start. There's Davis getting in deep.
Yeah, and I thought Jamarion Sharp was going to be able to come over and get that one, and got tangled up there a little bit, but a great job by Davis just getting downhill. And that's why, again, just another guy that can really, really score in a variety of ways for this Owl team.
Davis, it's been a post-New Year's explosion for him. First game of 2023, he had 36 points at UAB. Allen with a 3, and he got this one.
Again, Dante Allen picking up the slack big time with Luke Frampton sitting over there on the bench. Amazing. We got here today for shoot around for Florida Atlantic. I got here about 45 minutes before their shoot around, and Dante Allen was out on the court on the shooting machine. Carries over to the game. Amazing how that works.
Oh, Davis got into the body of Sharp in the foul call this time. So that sarcastic cheer maybe had a little influence. Sharp gets the call.
And at 7'5", Jamarion Sharp runs the floor extremely well, has great feet, moves really well. When he can get out in transition, his teammates they'll throw it up from three-quarter court because so long, so athletic, just throw it anywhere near the rim, he's going to go get it.
Against FIU, the game that Western Kentucky played on Saturday, I swear that McKnight threw a ball to the shot clock that Sharp went up and got. McKnight was at half court. Sharp was under the basket, and it was just a 15, 16-foot lob to him. When you're 7'5", you can get that tall. Kisses for the crowd as Sharp goes 2 and 2.
It makes pretty good looking stroke right there on the free throw line as well. And trying to get this crowd into the game. Western Kentucky, 6-point lead here, trying to slow this Owl team down offensively.
There's Boyd. Sharp got a piece of it. We'll see if they credit that with a block. And that's a travel. And Golden scrapping with McKnight again. It looked like Sharp got a piece of that, and if they give him a block, that ties the record for career blocks in Western Kentucky.
Oh, he definitely got a piece of that. We had a great angle at it from our seats right here. Got a deflection on it, and again, you can't simulate it in practice. That's the hardest part. You can tell your players till you're blue in the face. You can't go in there and score. You can't go in there and score. When you get in there, he just changes everything. And even if he doesn't block it, you're thinking about where is he? And so your mindset is just different.
I hate to disappoint you, David. You said definitely. You spoke in absolutes. They did not give Sharp a block on that play.
I'm going to have to disagree with that. It looked from our angle, we got a great angle where we're sitting. It looked like he certainly got a piece of that basketball.
Well, you can't tie a record on a restat watching the broadcast back or watching the tape back. So they got to give it to him real.
Watch the rotation of the ball. That's going to be key here. The ball stopped spinning, and then when it hit, this may be a better look right here. Oh, he definitely got a piece of that. Definitely got a piece of that. Can we challenge that? Do we have a red flag? Can we challenge
Throw your
crew?
pocket square. Throw your pocket square onto the floor. That's David's challenge
I'm
flag.
just trying to help my guy out here. He's going for the record here. We got to help him out. Come on.
I think he's going to have 1 or 2 more by the end of the night. He averages 4. He has 2. And if he gets his average, he'll break the record in 2 years, by the way. And he's only been at Western Kentucky 2 years after a good career at John A. Logan for Kyle Smith-Peters. Allen has knocked down a couple of shots. Gave it up, though. Rawls with the clock dipping inside 10. He gets to his spot, and in the mid-range, Rawls hits that.
And that was a very, very difficult shot. He knew the shot clock was running low, but a tough step back mid-range jump shot. And Western Kentucky not shooting the ball great, but doing a great job defensively and just finding a way to score, especially with their best three-point shooter, Luke Frampton, still sitting on the bench over there with those 2 fouls.
Hot team against hot team. Western Kentucky trying to win 4 in a row, and there's the payback for Nick Boyd from 3.
Throws a little silencer to the crowd there, saying, let's settle down a little bit. A much-needed basket there. Coming out of that last timeout, Florida Atlantic was only shooting 23% as a team, 2 of 10 from behind the arc. So a much-needed sight there to see that basketball go through the hoop.
Crowd silencer, run silencer, but McKnight trying to get it back for Western Kentucky. That stopped a 7-0 run. This 3 from Boyd out deep.
Yeah, Nick Boyd, a great three-point shooter, lefty, coming off the ball screen and just too low defensively there and throwing up his finger saying, let's not get too carried away here for that crowd. But on the other end, Davion McKnight is such a matchup problem because there really aren't any ways he can't beat you. He's shooting the ball really well from behind the arc this year. He's great off the dribble. Penetration just terrific. And that time right there, we see him posting up against a smaller guard, just using his body, getting to the free throw line and able to knock that first one down. But he just can beat you in so many ways. Just really had a great career here at Western Kentucky in his junior season. And we talked about it in the open. Really, in my opinion, one of the top 2 or 3 players so far early on for Conference USA Player of the Year.
And that guy that came into tonight, 19 points away from 1,000 for his career, all here at Western Kentucky. Quick question for you. We've seen a smooch to the crowd. We've seen a silence to the crowd both ways. Your celebration was what when you made a big play?
I didn't have one. No. I was
nothing.
Very stoic basketball player. So I was too worried about whether or not we were playing well to worry about all that.
Come on.
I'm telling you, I was pretty boring.
In your second life,
I hate to let you down.
In your second life, I hope you're more exciting as a player. Trap in the corner, and that's staying down here. Michael Forrest was in that coffin corner down there.
In Western Kentucky here over the last 8 or 9 minutes has done a great job defensively. Their length is certainly starting to show itself on the defensive end. Challenging shots, obviously with Jamarion Sharp around that rim. There's only 8 here left on the shot clock in a tough place to take the ball out in the dead corner. But the length of Western Kentucky was certainly a concern for Dusty May and shown here early on defensively for the Hilltoppers.
They get a slip into Rosado, and they get a travel into Rosado.
Western Kentucky got fortunate there. I'm not quite sure Jamarion Sharp was supposed to show out so far. A good read there by Rosado on the slip, but just got a little anxious with the feet. Turnover going down the other way. A good job there by Dante Allen, stepping up, being ready to help if that travel had not occurred.
If not a travel, would have been a turnover, dribbling it off the foot. So Western Kentucky gets it back. Their 7-0 run was stopped by the Boyd three, but they stay up in a turnover. Errant pass for Allen. And Davis thought about it, gets into a post-up spot. And a three for Martin, and he knocks that down.
Elijah Martin, probably their best three-point shooter. And speaking to their coaching staff earlier, they've got a lot of guys that can shoot the three, but from a pure shooting standpoint, they feel like he may be their best shooter, and certainly showed it right there. Really good-looking stroke on that jump shot.
You mentioned how he was starting early in the year. He had a heel bruise and came back off the bench. And Sharp can't get to that. He can get to a lot, but not that.
Well, I think Florida Atlantic got away with a push in the back there. A lot of contact as Sharp was going up for that lob, but officials letting him play on.
Extra pass for his three. In and out. And rebound crashing in there. It's Hamilton. Oh, McKnight straight downhill. Stops real quick and hits real quick.
It is hard to describe how difficult of a shot that is. Running full speed, catch the ball without traveling, and just stop on a dime and raise up and knock down that jump shot. Just a great display of talent there for Davion McKnight.
David, that had charge written all over it.
Oh, yeah. And to be able to stop like that when you're running full speed is really impressive.
Davis whirled in, but the shot blocker hunting him, and he gets it out for another Boyd three.
And Florida Atlantic starting to heat up a little bit, hitting two of their last attempts from beyond the arc, and Nick Boyd with his second three here in this first half. So Florida Atlantic, even though they got down, certainly not a team that's going to fold in situations like that, as we see another Western Kentucky turnover here.
Well, this is more like the offense you were talking about when you said we'd be in the 70s tonight.
No question about it. Florida Atlantic starting to catch fire here a little bit from beyond the three-point line. Great pass from Davis. Boyd knocking down the three.
Well, welcome back to Bowling Green, Kentucky on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This was at 10 o'clock this morning. Bowling Green had the 25th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial March. It's organized by the MLK Jr. Planning Committee here in Bowling Green. And this was from the Warren County Justice Center right outside the courthouse to State Street Baptist Church, where they had a memorial celebration. And keynote speaker Stacey L. Spencer from Memphis, Tennessee was out there. And the basketball that was played in this area helped integrate the South because of Clem Haskins. He was the first African-American player at Western Kentucky, and several schools in the South followed after WKU.
Clem Haskins, an unbelievable career here in Bowling Green. Obviously has his number retired up in the rafters, and just an unbelievable story and a big part of the foundation of success for this Hilltopper basketball program, which has been one of the premier mid-major programs throughout college basketball for a long time. And Clem Haskins, a big reason why.
Went on to play in the NBA for the Chicago Bulls, the Suns, the Washington Bullets, and then actually returned here to Bowling Green and was an assistant and head coach in the 80s, Clem Haskins. So final 2.5 of this first half, and taken away by McKnight for the Hilltoppers.
And Western Kentucky coming out there trapping, coming out of that timeout. And a great job by Davion McKnight reading that pass, getting the steal.
And Rosado punched it out after Lander had a good look at it. And FAU trying to get the lead back, and Boyd with his third three.
And Tyrone Marshall right there made a mistake. You got to know, Nick Boyd has knocked down 2 threes already. They have the ultimate green light, especially in transition. Got to make him put it on the floor and get him off the three-point line. Can't back up in that situation.
How about the lefties in this game, David? We got 4 of them out there tonight. This is a southpaw's dream. And Boyd is playing like it. Way out there, Davis. Nope.
And that one was pretty deep, maybe a little bit too far behind that line for Dusty Mays' liking.
Oh, great pass for McKnight, and up top Tyrone Marshall with the slam.
And Western Kentucky is so good at changing ends off the miss. Got the rebound there. Great pass ahead. Great job by Tyrone Marshall getting out. Easy dunk in transition. Hilltoppers back up 1 here with just over a minute left in this first half.
And underneath, FAU is going to the free throw line with Martin. This is more like the offense we thought we'd get.
Game started out hot, cooled off a little bit there in the middle of that half, but Davion McKnight with the great push, the great advance pass. Great job by Tyrone Marshall getting out and running for the easy dunk.
That pass. Get a radar gun on that thing. That was like a 65-mile-an-hour pass.
Yeah, he had a small window to get it through there. Had to get it there in a hurry, and certainly did. But as we see with Jamarian Sharp out of the game there, Elijah Martin able to cut back door, get fouled, not having to worry about the rim protecting presence of Sharp. Florida Atlantic getting back to the free throw line.
Hey, David, let's talk some NBA real quick. Wednesday, can't wait for this doubleheader. Trae Young against Luka. It's the Hawks against the Mavs, 7:30 Eastern. And out in the Mile High, Western Conference leading Nuggets. They get Anthony Edwards and the T-Wolves. It starts with NBA Countdown, 7 o'clock Eastern, and on the app. Watch that game at the Alamo Dome.
That was unbelievable. That was so awesome to see.
So a minute left until halftime. FAU by 1. McKnight can't give the Toppers the lead back.
Florida Atlantic here with a chance to go for the 2-for-1, about a 25-26. Nick Boyd with a little bit of a heat check.
And he's cooled, at least for now.
Can't make a ball, right?
He almost has in this first half. He's 3 of 5 from 3. Western Kentucky has stayed down by just 1. They led by a good stretch of this first half, even with Frampton on the bench with 2 fouls. Rawls, step back. Ooh, nasty.
Yeah, just an isolation one-on-one basketball. Jordan Rawls seeing the defender back up just a little bit, knocking down that mid-range, and Western Kentucky taking the lead again. Looks like Florida Atlantic's going to hold for that last shot here with the shot clock off.
He is feeling good about that jump shot, Rawls is. And this crowd is feeling good. With the students back from winter break, up on their feet, final possession of the half. Into Rosado attacking, and he gets drilled.
And again, without the presence of Jamarian Sharp in there in and around the rim, Florida Atlantic recognizing that, doing a great job attacking the rim, and Rosado going to the free throw line, chance to take the lead again for the Owls right here before half.
And we got a 30-second timeout. Looks like Kelly Self, one of the officials, will go over to the monitor. We will be right back with 3.3 to go in the half. Offense slowed down with a rugged style defensively and heating back up just before the break. Connor Onion, David Padgett, our crew with you from Western Kentucky, where FAU is ranked for the first time ever as of today, and trying to regain the lead before going into the break with Rosado at the free throw line for 2. And Rosado ties it up. We were talking NBA before the break, promo in the games coming up on Wednesday. Liked what the staff for FAU told us today. They compared Rosado to Boris Diaw. Boris Diaw and his skill inside the painted area. He's got a nice spin move, can play off a contact too.
Yeah, just has a great feel for the game. Facilitates a lot for him offensively as a big guy at the top of the key, and a terrific free throw shooter, shooting 91% in league play. So certainly a valuable weapon in those close games, especially in conference play.
Well, they give him the Diaw comp. He hits 2 free throws, and FAU back in front. In the first half that's had 6 lead changes. This has been good fun on a Monday night in Conference USA. McKnight, 3 seconds before the horn, down to 1. Inside half court, no shot. Davis was right there with Rosado and could not get a shot up. So FAU was in danger of falling down by 10 points, but they come back on a 7-0 run and eventually get the lead back as Frampton got it started with a bunch of threes for Western Kentucky, and then Nick Boyd said, "You're going out, it's getting up," and he knocked down 3 of his own. Welcome back to Bowling Green, just out of the second half. Hey, there's Big Red in sculpture form, the Western Kentucky mascot. Florida Atlantic, number 24 in the country, up by a point in their first day ever as a top 25 team. We're glad you're with us with David Padgett, Connor Onion. Welcome back on in. Hope you're having a great Martin Luther King Day. And a lot of this first half had to do with 3-point shooters. Luke Frampton for Western Kentucky. It was Boyd for FAU.
Western Kentucky didn't get out of the gate very well. Got off to a little bit of a slow start offensively until Luke Frampton absolutely decided to get it going from behind the arc. And 3 for 3, knocked down his first 4 shots of the basketball game before picking up 2 fouls that sent him to the bench for the rest of the half. But when he gets his feet set and he has even an inch of daylight, his teammates are always looking for him. Really got Western off to a good start offensively. And on the other end, basketball is a game of runs. And Nick Boyd said, you know what? I'm going to go on a little bit of run of my own, and knocked down 3 of his own threes. Took advantage of what the defense gave him. They backed up, coming off ball screens. CJ's too far back. Nick Boyd, a great 3-point shooter in his own right, said, you know what? I'm going to get my team back in this game. Silence that Western Kentucky crowd. 3-point line story of the game in the first half.
But we talked about how Florida Atlantic has won games despite not shooting well as a team from 3. Western Kentucky outshot them in the first half, but it's still a 1-point lead for the Owls.
The difference for Florida Atlantic was they were able to get to the free throw line 13 times, made 10 of those 13 free throws compared to only 3 makes for Western Kentucky. So both teams made 6 threes, but Florida Atlantic able to get to the free throw line a little bit more, create some points off of there. So certainly something to keep an eye on, see if Florida Atlantic can continue to attack the rim and draw fouls against this Western Kentucky defense.
Well, good environment. Western Kentucky has their students back on campus. A chance to get their first ranked win since 2018 when they beat Wisconsin. And FAU, on their first day as a top 25 team, extend their lead by 3.
And a great set there coming out of halftime. Little high ball screen. Had Nick Boyd involved in the double screen. Worried about him as a shooter, obviously, having made those 3 threes. Golden wide open on the roll there. Doesn't get much easier than that. Great job by Dusty May coming out of the locker room.
Vlad Golden with his second dunk of the game. And foul shots for Jarius Hamilton in the first touch for Western Kentucky.
And I like that from Western Kentucky right there. Phil Cunningham said Jarius Hamilton with a really, really quiet first half. Did not score there in that first half. Let's see if we can get him going, the second leading scorer on the season for the Hilltoppers. Get him in the post. See if he can get something going to the free throw line. So I have a feeling Phil Cunningham's going to say we need to get the ball into the lane, just continue to pound it inside and attack that rim.
And Hamilton got the first. I've got a question for you. You spent your college career at 2 different places, mostly at Louisville. Ended up scoring 1,000 points. That was split between your stops. It's been 3 spots for Hamilton. How do you think the records should be handled in that case?
Well, there's an asterisk nowadays with that because of the pandemic. You know, a lot of guys have 6 years that they've played college basketball, and it's not.
I see you're a real 1,000 point scorer.
Well, what I'm saying is it's going to be a little bit skewed, and not to take away from anything. I mean, it's nobody's fault. We see Florida Atlantic there trying to continue from behind the arc, but it's just there's got to be an asterisk next to it for guys that have played college basketball for 6 years. You're just going to score more points. That's just the reality of it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Lander almost had it, and 3 is better than 2.
It's amazing. Jarius Hamilton, like we mentioned, did not score a point in that first half. Got to the free throw line. Anytime you're struggling to score, the best thing you can do is get to the free throw line, see the ball go through the hoop, and what happens next time down? Knocks down a wide open 3. Look for Jarius Hamilton. Maybe get going here offensively.
So Western Kentucky with the lead back. 6 lead changes in the first half. Our first in the second half. And Martin fouled by Lander.
In the second time in this game, Western Kentucky has fouled a 3-point shooter. Number 1 cardinal sin of defense is don't ever foul a jump shooter. And it's happened twice so far here in this basketball game. Kristen Lander not very pleased with that call. But nonetheless, Elijah Martin going to the free throw line. We'll be taking another look at it here. And just made a little bit of contact there with the hip. And one way or another, Elijah Martin going to the free throw line, misses the first. So what's the old saying? Maybe the ball doesn't lie, I guess, right?
Not that again, David. You're going to make me fight you on that one?
I'm sure that's what Christian Lander was thinking himself right there when he missed that first free throw.
But that was a foul, no?
Oh, it was, yes. No, there was certainly enough contact to warrant the whistle.
And Martin says, ball don't lie again.
What do I know?
Well, Martin was a big breakout player last year for FAU. Only had 4 points a game his first year at FAU, but it was going into that next offseason that Dusty May said he really started to become a ferocious defender. And if he was going to do that, he's going to find the floor and he was going to score more. When he upped his game 10 points a night.
Florida Atlantic, a program that has kind of done it differently the last couple of years. Yes, they have a couple transfers. but they've recruited guys and have developed them and kept them for 2 or 3 years. And Elijah Martin is case in point. They've brought these guys in after high school, worked with them, developed them, and that's why you see the improvement record-wise every year Dusty May has been there. Just continue to get better, and here they are ranked in the top 25. So doing it a little bit of the old school way.
McKnight late in the clock.
And that is the one area where Davion McKnight did not have many weaknesses in his game. And the three-point line wasn't even really a weakness, but he has really improved in that facet this year, shooting the ball extremely well in conference play, over 60% from behind the three-point line in league play. And you see why right there. Great-looking stroke with the left hand.
And right back the other way, Nick Boyd has been the answer man tonight for FAU.
No question, Nick Boyd having a great game offensively, and both these teams continuing to trade baskets, and we knew it was going to be a great matchup, and so far has not disappointed between these two teams.
And Boyd already above his average on the season. Average is 9. He's got 11. Typically his role to make threes and rebound. Now he gets a 2, and that's an offensive foul. McKnight barreling in and taken on the chest by Weatherspoon.
Great job there by Brandon Weatherspoon, sliding his feet, showing his hands. Davion McKnight just dipping that shoulder just enough. You see there, he put that shoulder down just enough. That's an easy call. Official's going to call that one 10 times out of 10. Great job there by Brandon Weatherspoon.
So Weatherspoon, energy guy. You saw him after pumping his fist down to the ground. Sold out crowd for FAU on Saturday. There was a travel for North Texas, first play of the game, and he's flexing like he just hit a game-winning shot. An offensive foul on FAU before Weatherspoon can get it up.
And Vlad Golden just getting a little anxious there on the ball screen. Excuse me, the down screen moved, so good call there by the officials, but back-to-back offensive fouls.
Weatherspoon, I think, makes the common fan want to play basketball, how excited he gets sometimes.
Well, it was interesting today at Florida Atlantic shoot-around. They did a drill where guys worked on containing the ball with their hands behind their back, working on moving your feet without fouling, and that's why they're such a great defensive team and don't send their opponents to the free throw line very much. We talked about it earlier. They have made more than their opponents attempted in league play. Great job defensively by the Owls.
For the shot fake, and there's the career record. Jamarion Sharp with his 4th block of the night. He stands alone atop the WKU record book in block shots.
And we have to talk about it. He had a block earlier in the game that was not given to him right away. They went back and changed it to tie the record. We see there it is right there. And you mentioned it earlier, has not only set the record, but has done it in 2 years. That's unbelievable. You can see why right there. He's the best shot blocker in college basketball.
2 years at John A. Logan College in Southern Illinois. And he just, in less than 2 years, like you were mentioning, got to that career record mark. And Sharp, with many more to come, leading the country in blocks. And it did block it out of bounds, so FAU retains it at 3 from the wing for Gaffney.
And Jalen Gaffney, not a great three-point shooter, certainly not what he's known for, but again, a team that can just shoot it with so many different guys. Anybody can get hot in any given night.
Rawls felt good with the shot in the first half, gets Golden to blow by.
Great shot fake there by Jordan Rawls. Dusty May looking for a travel. Couldn't quite tell if his feet stayed on the ground or not, but nonetheless, great recognition.
And Golden and Frampton called for the foul. That's number 3. He had to sit in the first half, and the Hilltopper fans don't like it again.
Luke Frampton certainly showing some frustration there. Thought he got all ball on that, but officials saw it otherwise. And if Luke Frampton, he's got to be able to stay on the floor because of how much he has an impact on the offensive end. But again, Florida Atlantic going back to the free throw line.
And Frampton had 11 quick first half points and then missed the final 11 minutes because of that second foul, and has not gotten a shot up since halftime. And one more for Vlad Golden. We're admiring the skill of Golden and the sweet feet that he's got. I used to watch Olajuwon highlights and would go through like 6 or 7 moves because he was watching Olajuwon on YouTube. Dusty May just said, hey, let's settle down, kid.
Yeah,
maybe one move, and then we'll work on a counter move after that.
Yeah, I don't know if we're quite ready for the dream shake just yet, but hey, if you want to learn footwork from a post player, there is nobody better in the history of the game of basketball than Hakeem Olajuwon. So he's watching the right guy. I just think he needed to start a little bit more simple and then maybe get a little bit more complex as we get better. But he's come a long way, and he's really worked. His coaching staff could not have given him enough credit at how hard he's worked to develop his game.
Oh, McKnight with a rainbow.
Davion McKnight starting to heat up a little bit here. A little quiet in that first half offensively. Did a great job distributing. Didn't score a ton, but back-to-back threes here in this second half. Davion McKnight knows when to try to take over. Knows when to distribute, but can really take over for his team when they need it.
Davis slaps one back for three.
And the two guys we featured in the open, Davion McKnight for Western Kentucky and Janelle Davis for Florida Atlantic. Just when you think their team needs a basket, they know who they're going to.
Don't you love it when you, Mr. Paget, are right? Pick the right guys to feature. That was a pretty easy one, right?
Hey, great players make coaches look even smarter.
Great and oh, Sharp with the poster. The crowd in a frenzy as Martin misses that three.
Jamarion Sharp playing way above the rim, had three guys hanging on his arm too. Looked like there was certainly some contact.
Gaffney too heavy. Sharp with four big blocks. Frampton wants one, and he can't get one. His first miss. The Martin drive and kick. And FAU will slow it down for the moment. And Golden was calling for the post up. He might want to get one back on Sharp after his big slam. Oh, off the head of Golden. That got him off the head. Watch your head, and then it hits his head. Sharp with the hammer.
And Jamarion Sharp has had himself a second half here so far. Record-setting block. And on the other end, I have a feeling we may be saying this one later. Sports Center Top 10. Here we come. Davion McKnight struggled in the first half of this basketball game. Guy that does a lot going to the rim. Unable to get anything going, missing a couple point-blank layups. Even a wide-open three, not going to get much better look than that. But the second half has been a completely different story. Knocking down 2 threes to really get himself going. Can't keep a player of his caliber down for long. Davion McKnight, big reason why his Hilltopper team is now tied in this basketball game.
Well, we've had one record fall tonight. Jamarion Sharp moved into #1 all-time in block shots. McKnight, if he gets to 8 more points, will get to 1,000 in his career in 2.5 seasons. So multiple milestones at stake for Western Kentucky, and of course a ranked win riding on the next 14 minutes. It'll be their first since 2018. FAU trying to stay ranked, as that was a little too short for Sharp. And it's out of bounds, staying with the Toppers though.
Florida Atlantic aggressive coming out of that timeout on the ball screen. Got Davion McKnight over there on the sideline and trapped him. And Western fortunate to keep that basketball. Only 14 on the shot clock here.
Frampton got a window, and he's 0 for 2 in the second half.
It's amazing. As well as he played there in that first half, especially shooting the basketball, you get in foul trouble and you can just lose your rhythm. It's hard to explain unless you've been there, but you can just lose your rhythm. And so far here in the second half, struggling to shoot the basketball.
Timeout taken by Florida Atlantic as Rosado got down on the ground. Timeout in a tie game from Bowling Green, Kentucky. On ESPN. Well, a lot of people right now have Zach Edey at Purdue as their National Player of the Year, but not far in his shadow right now is Jalen Wilson at Kansas.
Yeah, Zach Edey, Purdue with a great win today on the road at Michigan State. Zach Edey with the game-winning basket, and probably can't go wrong with either one, but I think Zach Edey leading the country in rebounding as we see the three-pointer from Elijah Martin off the underneath that bounce play coming out of that timeout. Great execution there, but you know, when you're averaging 20 and you're leading the country in rebounding, hard to pass that up. And you know me, I'm always going to be biased for a big guy. I know, but he's having an unbelievable season and just a once-in-a-generation type player.
And there's Rawls on the scoop, getting to the rim.
Both teams starting to pick it up here offensively a little bit.
And yes, I know you're biased toward big guys.
Always will be.
That's an undersell on Zach Edey, though, that he's a big guy. You got one in this game too with Sharp. That's offensive. Get that on Michael Forrest.
Yeah, probably a good call there. Looked like he extended that arm just a little bit, but Jordan Rawls quietly has had a good game for the Hilltoppers, stepping up, coming off the bench. Great little hesitation there. And Florida Atlantic, not a team that's got a lot of shot blocking ability. So when you get to the rim, you can get in and around there. You don't have to worry about getting your shot blocked. You can play pretty freely and be aggressive.
And this is where he's been at his best driving. He pulls up, and the rebound ripped out of there by Greenlee. 11 points for Rawls. And a 3 for Forrest, and he's got it going off the bounce.
Yeah, that's a tough shot. One of the tougher shots in basketball, the pull-up 3 off the bounce. And that looked comfortable as could be coming off of his hand. So Florida Atlantic starting to heat up a little bit here. A couple threes coming out of that last time out.
And Forrest on the steal on that long pass from McKnight. FAU sent that double.
Davion McKnight getting trapped there in the corner and tried to skip it, but Florida Atlantic was ready. And quick turnover there. Florida Atlantic trying to open this lead up a little bit, and there's another offensive foul in the illegal screen. And as a coach, that's frustrating for Giancarlo Rosado. You don't need to move. It's the guard's job to run his man off of the screen. You don't need to move. Just stand there, dribble handoff, stand still. All right, it's his job as the guard to run his man off that screen, and if he doesn't, then that's on him. But you can't move. He's trying to set the screen, do the right thing, but just an unnecessary foul there. That's frustrating, and Rosado's too good of a player to make that kind of mistake, but staying in the game nonetheless.
He saved possession a few trips ago, getting that timeout. Gives it back to Western Kentucky here. McKnight too strong on the little runner. Forrest feeling good after his 3, and that's an offensive foul.
And a big call there. Luke Frampton stepping in, trying to take that charge. Could have been his 4th. Nonetheless, going the other way. 4-point game. Owls on top.
Has his team ahead and in the top 25 for the first time in school history. And a great conversation with him today. He is a former student assistant for Bobby Knight at Indiana in the late 90s. Said he wanted to play college basketball, wasn't good enough to play D1. He was cleaning pools out of basketball for Bob Knight's best friend. And from that, the best friend said, Bob Knight, you got to take a look at this guy. And he ends up on the staff as a video coordinator, student assistant, and he spent 4 years with the Hoosiers in the late 90s, and that got him into coaching.
Well, it was interesting talking to him. You know, nowadays you got director of video, director of operations. You've got all these titles and all these staff members, and they all play a vital role, don't get me wrong. But back in the 90s, or even 15, 20 years ago, your student managers served in all those roles. So he got to learn firsthand about everything, all hands on deck. I mean, doing the video, the operational side of things, not only the coaching side of things. So I had a great education there in a short period of time. And he's had the privilege of working for guys like Mike White at Florida, and he's had a great turnaround here for this FAU program as we saw the records there year by year, and has his best team by far this year, no doubt about it.
Did you mean to do that? All hands on deck in a story about a guy cleaning pools?
I'm very clever when it comes to stuff like that, yes.
Okay. All right. So intentional?
No, but thank you for making me look smart.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I mean, from cleaning pools to student assistant to the head coach of one of the best mid-major basketball programs in the country right now. Fun journey for Dusty May to get to this spot. Trying to keep his team undefeated in Conference USA. They've won 15 games in a row. Davis, and he got fouled.
And it was pretty good defense there by Western Kentucky until the foul. Davis got in the lane, saw Jamarion Sharp there in the background, decided to pivot and fade away. Tyrone Marshall got just enough of the hand, and Florida Atlantic going back to the free throw line. This will be their 19th and 20th free throw attempt of the game, and for Western Kentucky, only 6 so far.
And first down for John L. Davis. We have a doubleheader for you on Saturday. Miami and Duke first at noon Eastern. Texas A&M Kentucky after that. So doubleheader featuring a guy that gets a lot of double-doubles. Oscar Tshiebwe off another one in the win in Knoxville on Saturday against Tennessee. And Kentucky and Texas A&M closing it out 2 Eastern on ESPN and the app. And a perfect pair for Boyd at the line. Or for Davis, excuse me. And John L. Davis, a little slow getting going in this game. And he's got the 3 assists now to go with his 9 points. And both teams had an 8-point lead at one point in the first half. FAU stretches it back out to 6. Rawls against Greenlee, the most impactful defender for FAU. And he got free of him and falling away. Rosado has the rebound.
And a great possession defensively there for Florida Atlantic.
And Forrest streaking down the lane for 2.
And Phil Cunningham going to get a quick timeout here. Doesn't like what he sees from his team, especially on the offensive end. Not much of a rhythm, but Florida Atlantic trying to open this one up. 8-point lead here on the road in Bowling Green.
So a 7-0 run for the Owls to match their biggest lead of the night at 58-50.
Florida Atlantic, a team that switches a lot defensively, got the stop, got the rebound. Great pass there by Nick Boyd. Could have pulled up for the 3, but saw Mike Forrest streaking to the basket. Western Kentucky just has not been able to find a consistent rhythm offensively. They haven't been able to find the one guy. It was Frampton there in the first half for a couple minutes. It was McKnight here in the second half for a few possessions. The one guy that's been quiet for him, Jarius Hamilton, had a tough night, not able to get much going. Maybe to see if they can get him something on the block here. So we take a look at some stats. Davion McKnight, 11 points, has had to work hard for it. Elijah Martin coming on here strong in the second half. You see 10 lead changes, but Florida Atlantic trying to open this one up now. 8-point lead, their biggest of the game.
Well, McKnight's doing a little bit of everything. You mentioned how he's worked hard for it. 11 points on 12 shots for the top scorer for Western Kentucky. He might get a double-double tonight. He's got 7 rebounds. So out of that timeout for Phil Cunningham. He's got Frampton out there with Marshall, McKnight, Rawls, and Hamilton.
And because of the switching of Florida Atlantic, they get you really extended offensively, and that's what Western Kentucky has to do. I like the aggressiveness there by Tyrone Marshall driving the ball. We talked about it earlier. Florida Atlantic, not a shot-blocking team. Attack the rim. When you're struggling to score, get something going to the rim, get to the free throw line, give yourself a chance to set your defense going down the other way.
Do you want to hear a story that doesn't have that much depth to it?
I'm all ears.
You're all ears? Okay, that's better than the response I thought I was going to get. Tyrone Marshall, his nickname is Woo. It's known as Woo around here. We were asking around today, where does that come from? And it's just as simple as Mom started calling me Wooski when I was 5 years old. We shortened it to Woo. Now I'm Woo. So that's really all there is to it.
Hey,
I'm sorry I don't have more for you.
Sometimes the best nicknames come from no reason at all, and they stick, and there you go.
Yeah, and it's not like he was hooting and hollering as a kid, nothing like that. Turnover, the length of Woo out on the perimeter there influenced the pass.
Yeah, deflection saved the basket there. Good job by Tyrone Marshall. And Western Kentucky turns it right back over.
Davis going at Frampton, who had to be careful, and Davis closes. Frampton was close to getting his 4th foul earlier, got out of the way there.
Just a careless pass there by Luke Frampton, and he knew it too. Immediately pointed over the bench. But Western Kentucky, a little bit of danger zone here. Florida Atlantic up 9, under 10 minutes to play, and all the momentum seems to be on the side of the Owls.
The biggest lead for FAU in this game. Western Kentucky once led by 8. And back out from Hamilton to Frampton. And he can't hit in the second half. And that out of rhythm moment that he had in the first half when he got the second foul might affect him.
Yeah, not going to get much better look than that. And Florida Atlantic going to look to slow it down here a little bit. And it's amazing the depth of Florida Atlantic allows all their guys. Nobody plays more than 30 minutes, so they're always all fresh. So they sub guys in and out defensively. They just don't seem to get tired. And Western Kentucky, a team that doesn't play a lot of guys, starting to look a little bit more fatigued.
Forrest contested 3. Not this time. And a rebound for McKnight and a foul on Forrest.
And not a good foul there by Mike Forrest, trying to get that miss back. The last thing in the world you want to do is foul 70 feet away from the basket. And Florida Atlantic in the bonus, so even compounding the problem right there, sending Davion McKnight to the free throw line with the clock stopped. So definitely not a good foul there on Mike Forrest. Got to be a little bit smarter than that.
Well, that's 3 on him. So that's why Forrest goes out. And McKnight pushing toward 1,000 points in his career. He's got 11. He is sitting on 992 points in his career. And the front end of the 1-and-1 is down. Davion McKnight, he's got an NIL deal like some of the guys on Western Kentucky do. Sharp has one as well. He's got his own apparel. And some of the support staff for Western Kentucky wearing that today. It was just a diehard Western Kentucky fan's birthday. What did the kid want? Wanted McKnight swag for his birthday. That is so cool.
That's awesome. We gotta love that.
So McKnight got them both back to a 7-point game. Here's Davis, turned the corner, got a big screen from Golden. Absolutely planted Marshall.
And that wasn't even really planned. Golden was simply trying to post up. He was being fronted, and on the dribble penetration, he just stood still. And because his defender was in the front of him and on the wrong side, wide open layup.
Oh, another one for SportsCenter. Tyrone Marshall.
And that just might be the spark that the Hilltoppers needed to get themselves going, to get back in this game. A ridiculous play by Tyrone Marshall with an unbelievable finish.
Sharp and Marshall, who did it better? And the answer right back underneath for Martin.
Seems like every time here in this second half, Western Kentucky has tried to get a little momentum going. Florida Atlantic has had the answer in the dribble penetration. Western Kentucky just has no answer for it defensively.
Hey, real quick, could those dunks tonight for Western Kentucky be 1-2? SportsCenter top 10? Maybe Davis will add to it. He goes up top and misses. Not to be. But it's a three that's in and out for Greenlee. Preempted it too soon. And Hamilton gets hit. That's an offensive foul.
Florida Atlantic hanging tough here on the road, creating offense off of their defense. Western Kentucky trying to hang in there. Just under 8 minutes to go. Sometimes in order to win on the road, especially in conference play, you got to catch a little bit of a break, and I think Florida Atlantic certainly just caught one on that last possession before the timeout. This was called an offensive foul, but that's not an offensive foul. The officials just missed that one. Jarius Hamilton avoided the contact. If anything, I know they've made a big push for the flops over the last couple seasons, and I'm not saying that was a flop, but if anything, that was not an offensive foul. So Florida Atlantic very fortunate there. And that basket did go in. So if that call goes the other way, that's a chance for a three-point play for Western Kentucky. But nonetheless, still a 9-point lead. These fans here in Bowling Green letting the officials know how they feel.
When we talked about that flop call, it's been a topic of pregame conversation with officials most of this winter. And the way it's being taught, according to the people that we've talked to, is it's more about the three-point shooter flopping than it is a true block charge no call situation.
Well, that was a block. I mean, it's not a no call. To me, it's hard to ever be a no call. If there's contact, it's got to be something.
Well, FAU got the break, and Boyd cashes in the three.
And that's one of those plays. It's amazing. FAU missed the dunk. Western Kentucky comes down, could have had a chance at a three-point play, goes down the other way. Florida Atlantic comes out, hits the timeout, hits a 12-point game. Sometimes the bounces and the calls just don't go your way.
So big possession for Western Kentucky, wandering out of touch a little bit here, down by 12 points. And that's a wraparound for Golden. He had his hands roped around the hips of Sharp.
Yeah, pretty easy call there. Jamarion Sharp just trying to get position, and Golden just reaching around. Western Kentucky going to the free throw line on every foul from here on out. Expect them to maybe pick up the full court pressure here, see if they can speed Florida Atlantic up a little bit. Clock's certainly not their ally. You make both these, it's a 10-point game. But Florida Atlantic has been really, really good at executing. We see the front end miss there, a big miss by Jamarion Sharp. And Florida Atlantic has really been executing here in the half court as of late.
Well, they like Janelle Davis as an isolation player. And he can go get him a bucket, and he has a bunch in this second half. 12 of his 14 points in this second half. He's off ball here. It's Boyd for three. And side rim. Golden fought for it, kept it alive in the follow for Boyd.
Western Kentucky going to a 1-3-1 right there defensively, try to eliminate the dribble penetration. They got Florida Atlantic to take an ill-advised shot, but didn't clean up the rebound, and Boyd able to follow it and lay it back in.
So we hit the 6-minute mark in a 14-point game. McKnight had to have it for Western Kentucky.
Had to have it is right. You got to get a couple stops here. You got to be able to put some stops together if you want to get back in this game. And staying with the 1-3-1, it appears. See if they can get a quick turnover here. But you got to get the rebound. Defensively, you got to rebound the basketball. You cannot allow Florida Atlantic another opportunity at it.
Golden had to reach behind, and it's a turnover.
And that's what they needed right there.
So a little wrinkle defensively for Western Kentucky. One score, one stop out of it. And a chance to get it back to 10 or single digits on this trip. And Western Kentucky, if they could come back, it'd be their first ranked win since 2018. And a lot of work to do, though. McKnight has had the ball in his hands a lot second half. Shedded Davis couldn't hit from 5 feet out, and the rebound for Golden.
The switching of Florida Atlantic has been very effective in this game. A pretty good look there for Davion McKnight, but anytime a team can switch a lot defensively like that, it can throw you off your rhythm as a team. Western Kentucky just not able to get anything going.
And Martin got to the bottom of that zone and got hit by Sharp. And Florida Atlantic, David, has not gone down there much tonight on Sharp without getting their shot blocked. That time they got the first foul on the big man.
Yeah, it looked like he reached just a little bit before he put his hands up to try to contest that shot. But Florida Atlantic going to the free throw line, trying to make this a 14-point game on the road with 5 minutes left.
Elijah Martin off the bench again tonight. You know, we were talking about that lineup and how they bring these top scorers off the bench, both him and John L. Davis. Dusty May told us that if we lose tonight, we might switch it up. But if we keep winning, those guys are going to keep coming in off the bench, even if they score 20 a game.
Don't fix it until it breaks, and it has not been broken here over the last 15 or so games for this Owl team. 14-point lead here, and putting themselves in a really good position to extend that winning streak to 16.
Only Charleston, who is also in the top 25, has a longer winning streak active right now than FAU. Looking for 16 in a row. Hamilton step back, in and out. Oh, got a good look, and it looked like it was going down, but Davis away with the miss.
Florida Atlantic, not an overly tall team, play a lot of guards like we talked about, but they are a terrific rebounding team. So I think we get a carry here. Not very often you see that called anymore.
Yeah, Boyd was way out away from the basket, too.
But Florida Atlantic, a +7 rebounding edge in conference play for a team that obviously Vlad Golden at 7 feet is a very good size, but their guards do an unbelievable job of just team rebounding and gang rebounding.
Davis flying by. Lid is on for Western Kentucky with Allen. And down the other way, Gaffney, contested lay-in, no, but the follow. You're just talking about the guards rebounding. There's Boyd crashing in. And on the re-attack, several pivots, and he scores plus a foul.
And Nick Boyd got that offensive rebound. I thought to myself, bring it back out. A little chaotic, a little disorganized here. The clock is on your side. And he said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go. Kept pivoting. Didn't see a whole lot of contact from that angle, but nonetheless, Nick Boyd has had himself a game and going to the free throw line for the old-fashioned three-point play.
Well, after pivoting that much, too, you'd think at some point a pass out is coming. Door closed, door closed, door closed. Finally, the door opened for him.
A lot of frustration here on the faces of some of these Western Kentucky players. Just have not had a great night offensively, and give Florida Atlantic a lot of credit for their game plan coming in. Made big plays when they needed to.
There's McKnight, and a lot of shots going halfway down and out right now for Western Kentucky. Second chance, Hamilton. He's short.
And that kind of sums up the game and the type of night it's been for the Hilltoppers. Just unable to knock down the wide open looks here in the second half. And Jarius Hamilton missing a point-blank layup. And looks like Florida Atlantic's going to try to extend that winning streak to 16 games and show that that top 25 ranking is the real deal.
And offensive foul. Isaiah Gaines into the game. FAU has put up 40 points in the second half. They have distance between them and the Hilltoppers. The students Students are back on campus for Western Kentucky, and they have classes starting tomorrow. They've packed it in pretty good. 1-point game at halftime, but David, FAU since the half, tough to find a missed shot, shooting 50% from 3.
And on the other end, the Hilltoppers have certainly struggled, only shooting 38% in this half, only 3 of 10 from 3, and they've had some good looks. Just have not been able to get them to go down. But Florida Atlantic, a team that they've made 11 threes in this game, but they've also made 19 free throws. When you get that much production from those 2 areas, it's going to be hard to beat.
Rawls, little shake, gets to his spot and drills it.
Jordan Walls has had a pretty good game for the Toppers. This looks like it's going to be a little short, but Western Kentucky, a team that is very, very talented. Got off to a rocky start like we talked about. Lost their first 3 league games, but won the last 3. And as much talent as they have, and hopefully they're able to get their coach Rick Stansberry back at some point. Phil Cunningham's done an unbelievable job in his absence, but look for them to be at the top of the standings or near the top as the season comes to a close here in the next couple months.
Boyd off of the shot fake, contested runner, and Hamilton got first hand on it, and it's saved by Gaffney for FAU.
And again, another offensive rebound for Florida Atlantic. When they have not made their shots in this half, which has not been very often, they've gotten a lot of them back and able to run another 20 seconds off this clock.
+6 in offensive rebounds in this game. 5 to shoot and out of bounds for Martin. Little Ole there. We were talking at Shoot today how FAU's played all these close games without shooting the ball well. If they do have a night where they shoot the ball well, not specific to Western Kentucky, specific to everybody in the league, they can blow some teams out.
No question. The reason they've been able to win all their games and why they're going to be in every game, we talked about it earlier, is because they defend and they rebound. But when their offense clicks like it has tonight, they are going to be a really, really tough out. They've already swept North Texas so far early, beat UAB, a terrific team. And obviously a lot of basketball left to be played, but you can see why this team is ranked number 24 in the country, rightfully so.
Rawls loves the mid-range and bodies down underneath, and that's going against Hamilton. Western Kentucky gets called with Boyd down on the ground. And give it back to the Owls. It's really cool to see a new team inside the top 25. FAU for the first time ever, known for football, of course. Let's take a look at that again before we get into that.
Yeah, loose ball foul there on the rebound, and officials going over to take a look at it, see if there's anything more than just a common foul.
Here's your first look at it.
See, the shot goes up. Jarius Hamilton there trying to, a little bit of a swim move to try to get around, try to get better position for the rebound. And
you see anything there?
That first angle,
say no based on that pause.
No, the first angle, it looked like there was some contact to the head. I don't think it was intentional by any stretch. He was trying to make a swim move, locked the arm around the neck. Anytime you get the hands or the arm up towards the neck and head area, I think the officials are going to probably, just to keep the game under control here a little bit, certainly some frustration on the side of the Hilltoppers there. Jarius Hamilton obviously just trying to get in a better position to get the offensive rebound. But you got to figure the longer this goes on, the more chance it has to be something more than just a common foul. Take another look at it here. Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to bump that one up. I just don't know if there was a need to wrap that arm around the shoulder and neck area.
Almost like a headlock.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the officials are going to probably bump that one up to a flagrant here, would be my guess.
Jerry Pollard, Kelly Self at the monitor with Bert Smith, third official looking on. So inside 2 minutes to go, and this is a review. Jarius Hamilton was the player for Western Kentucky that had hands around head on Nick Boyd. Let's see if Jerry Pollard brings Smith in on it. Three will just get together. You think a flagrant's coming, though?
I do, yeah. It looked a little excessive. I don't know if they get into, was it qualify as a basketball player or a non-basketball play? I understand what his intent was. He was trying to get in a better position to get the rebound, but A little excessive there, and based on Phil Cunningham's reaction of what Bert Smith just told him, I think, yeah, they're going to upgrade that. So a couple free throws here for Florida Atlantic as we hopefully get our answer here.
Hamilton will be called for flagrant one, it sounds like. Bert Smith has come over and deliver it to the people, please.
Yeah, they upgraded that one to a flagrant one, unnecessary contact. So Nick Boyd going to the free throw line, knock down the free throws, and Florida Atlantic will retain the ball.
This is what they got Hamilton on.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. I mean, I understand again what Jarius Hamilton's intent was. Jarius Hamilton's showing a lot of frustration here, and I think it goes back and stems from that play we saw. He drove baseline, he avoided. It was not an offensive foul. The call was wrong. And that changed the momentum of the game, quite frankly. You know, they were down 9 at that point. The shot went in. If he makes the free throw, now all of a sudden it's a 6-point game, get momentum. Florida Atlantic goes down, hits a 3, opens it up to 12, and ever since then, here we are. So certainly some frustration there, but nonetheless, we play on.
And Boyd did miss both, but FAU does get the ball after the flagrant one on Hamilton. Well, Martin wasn't even looking. These guys are saying, hey, ball's coming, and passing underneath for a score for Gaines. That could have hit Martin in the side of the head. He's looking on the baseline.
And Isaiah Gaines, a player doesn't get a lot of time in the rotation, but they're talking to their coaching staff before the game. They are really excited about his potential. A terrific athlete, obviously playing behind guys like Flad Golden and Giancarlo Rosado, but he's certainly going to get his opportunity. The guy they think is sky high.
And a double dribble, Western Kentucky ball. You really need 3 bigs, though, to win a conference championship, right?
Well, you never know what's going to happen with foul trouble or, God forbid, injuries or, guys just not playing well, whatever the case may be. So to have that luxury of being able to put in another guy on the bench, yeah, that is a huge plus as you wind down the end of the season here.
And Gaines was out on a guard there. It's another look at him. Well, for Florida Atlantic, we started to talk about it. Most nationally known as a football school. They've gotten very good coaches. They've had success in bowl games and football. Ranked for the first time and getting this national recognition. There were people tailgating their game on Saturday at North Texas, and then they sold it out, had a record crowd. This thing is moving as far as their brand and their recognition in their area and nationally now.
Well, it's easy to tailgate when it's 80 degrees outside. I would too, even if it's for basketball.
It was like 55 the other day.
Oh, I feel so terrible for them.
Feel terrible for them, but and that's a big deal to get it rolling like that.
Absolutely, and rightfully so. I mean, the performance they've put on tonight speaks for itself. So a really impressive road win here, and they've earned that top 25 ranking. There's no doubt about it, but they don't seem complacent with it. It could have been very easy for them to come out tonight and say, hey, we're ranked in top 25. But they came out and played. They earned it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this team dancing come March.
Joe Lunardi has them as a 10 seed. Win or lose tonight. Said he would still have them in at the end of the day. And they're 1 minute away from 16 wins in a row. And taken away by Boyd, or by Davis, excuse me. Florida Atlantic has been to one NCAA tournament ever. That was when they were in the A-Sun, the Atlantic Sun Conference in 2002. And there feasibly is a possibility for Conference USA to have multiple bids this year because of a 13 of the net for FAU. Martin got it stripped, and Western Kentucky should get one last crack at it. Hamilton underneath with the slam.
Yeah, it's always going to be tough, like we mentioned earlier, for a league like Conference USA to get more than one team in. But obviously this FAU team has a great chance to win their conference tournament. But if they keep playing like this, they may end up being an at-large bid regardless. So a lot of basketball left to be played, but an unbelievable performance here by the Owls.
And Joe Lunardi says that Conference USA is in his top 10 conference rankings for the first time since 2012. Their best team is Florida Atlantic, and they stay on top and undefeated in their first day ever as a nationally ranked team. Led by the 16 of Nick Boyd. And in lockstep with Martin and Davis, giving them 15 and 14. They're trying to run down Charleston for the nation's longest active winning streak. It's up to 16 games.
Well, you see the balance of their team on display tonight. They have numerous guys that can score in double figures on any given night. They've got such a deep bench. And defensively, they create so much havoc because of their ability to switch and rebound the ball from the guard position. And just an incredible performance here by the Florida Atlantic Owls. Very well-deserved win.
So Florida Atlantic wins it, and they have not lost since the early part of November, winning 16 games in a row. And they are 7-0 in Conference USA, at least 2 games up by the end of the night. We welcome you back courtside. Thanks for joining us on Martin Luther King Day. David Padgett and Connor Onion. How far can FAU go? You live in ACC country in the middle of a lot of great mid-major conferences too. How far do you think they can go in March?
I think they can go as far as they want to be quite honest. Because of how they play, because of the depth we mentioned, obviously. Defensively, they switch everything, which is very hard to prepare for. They're a terrific rebounding team, and they just have so many guys that can have breakout nights against any given opponent. I mean, Janelle Davis had a great night tonight, but they have 4 guys that average double figures on the season. So just such a balanced attack. You can't focus on 1 or 2 guys from a scouting standpoint. So if this team can continue to shoot the basketball like they did tonight and guard and rebound, I think they can go as far as they want to come March.
And everybody else has at least 2 losses in Conference USA, so they're in a really good spot, almost to the midway point for a regular season championship. But as you've mentioned, might come down to the conference tournament. But Joe Lunardi says that they would be a 10 seed if the tournament were today. David, always fun.
Great night tonight at Conference USA.
All right, final FAU wins their 16th in a row for David Padgett. Connor Onion saying goodnight from Bowling Green. Coming up next, Prairie View in SWAC action after this break.